thunder and the lightning consumes you're falling all around me, painting pictures, bleeding colors in the room. You're falling all around me, and the thunder and the lightning consumes you're falling all around me, painting pictures, bleeding colors in the room. You're falling all around me.
Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the 1K World Cup round of 16. Starting to round out a wonderful weekend so far, with only a couple of matches left to go here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the break. We are back with Malaysia taking on Italy to see who will continue on in the winners bracket here today. As always, my name is Sparky, and I am joined in the commentary booth by none other than YonGin. YonGin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am not known. I'm not too sure about Mania in general, but thankfully 1K Mania it's a lot less complicated. It's one
absolutely.
lane. It's Taiko too. It's Taiko but vertical.
It's vertical Taiko, exactly. I mean, honestly, 4 key, 7 key, it's just vertical Taiko. You just got more keys to worry about.
yeah. But definitely a lot easier for me to digest, and I've been enjoying it. In seeing a lot of Taiko players, especially we got the Italian Plumber teams, basically the entire team of Taiko World Cup team, the 4 main players, with Jaye which is a which is a mania player that I'm not too confident knowing this player. Probably can add a little bit to that.
Yeah, definitely a pretty physical player overall, and definitely no slouch when it comes to accuracy as well. So with these quote-unquote easier map pools, these beginning map pools, it's an opportunity for them to really show off the mania accuracy. But I mean, to be fair, when it comes to 1 key, the discrepancy with how wide that accuracy can get and still put up a competitive score is much larger than something like 4 key or 7 keys. So definitely gotta watch out for that. And then you do have Malaysia on the other side, do have some players that have played in other 1 key tournaments before, pointing out to their captain Leon, who I believe has played at least one of these tournaments. They were in Joke 2, I believe, and did very well for themselves there. But it'll be interesting to see how they do as a team overall. The 2v2 aspect really throwing a bit of a wrench in the works for a lot of the individual players for these countries that have come out to play in previous iterations of Jaye's 1 key event. So right now, just getting the lobby logistics sorted out. I believe Malaysia is going to be skipping their warm-up, so we'll wait to see if Italy has anything to play as we wait for everybody to get in here and we get this show on the road.
Yep. The Italian Plumber teams, basically Deku, Ender, A40, and Ikun. All of these 4 players are the 4 main players, the 4 player states of Taiko World Cup Italia team. Usually these 4 players can make it to top 8s basically, and then we see they're really strong due to that, because in Taiko you also require speed judgment, and their accuracies and speeds, mostly rise maps are definitely their strong points. We don't see Ferry playing that much of rise maps actually due to that, and he's mostly falling in for LNs and hybrids. So LN hybrids has been, I do believe, the main nemesis of Taiko, because you actually need to release the key on accurate timing, and I think that's actually troubles quite a bit of Taiko players.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a learning curve for the Taiko players needing to play those LN hybrid charts. Have seen that before, but once they really get a knack for those timings, we've really seen Taiko players take off in this tournament. So I'm a little bit more practice, a little bit of understanding, especially once these pools get a little harder. The LNs kind of get dense enough that you can kind of swing playing them like a rice chart. I wouldn't be surprised if those scores started going higher as the pools get harder.
Yes, speaking of Taiko players, we actually have one as well on the Malaysia-A team, Port 31 HP, which is actually number 1 in Taiko, basically number 1 in the Malaysia tournament, I would say. Project Prism, he's the number 1 Malaysian player in that open rank Taiko tournaments, and he has been popping off in Taiko World Cup this year as well, because of buying a new new keyboard, which is the very known BFKB, and he has been showing some crazy ass scores as well in the entire tournaments, especially the accuracy maps, and even the SV maps. He just gods at them. So Core 13 HP, definitely an eye to look out for And the rest of the Malaysia players, outside of Leon, which I have heard of this player, like Sparky, the upset that he has played in Druk 2 as well. So other than that, I'm not too familiar with the rest of the players. Like, yeah, they are very new names to me.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how they do as a team. I think we're gonna get started here. I think we were just waiting on one of the players to download the map pack because it is one of the Joke 2 maps here. And those are pretty massive. They've got quite a couple of maps in them, so not surprised that worried about the lobby timing out and having to recreate the whole thing, so just getting the show on the road at the expense of one of the players. But I mean, they can warm up on their own time, just play one of the other maps that they have in the meantime. And like I mentioned, Malaysia not going to have a warm-up, so we'll be getting started right after this with the rolls, those bans, and that all-important first pick.
Yeah, I do believe Court is the one that is having trouble of downloading a map, so we're not gonna see him play. But yeah, there's also I was missing one player that I know from the Malaysia-A team as well, which is Mini Sora, one of the older Mania players.
Yeah, one of the originals.
So, yes. So far, on the speed maps, and we already see the Italian Plumbers team, A40, the Taiko speed player, is destroying this map.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a trend whenever we see these Taiko-heavy teams just utterly destroying these more standard rice charts because of the fact that a lot of the patterns play very nicely into what they're used to when it comes to some of the higher difficulty things. If anything, they'll be limited by how fast their key can register the presses because they don't have the luxury of alternating across different keys. So that'll be something to watch out for. We do see some misses come out, but I think that's more just to hardware limitations than just raw reading capability.
That's actually insane from A40 performance so far. There's a really high mechanics player on the Italian Plumber teams, and Malaysia need to rush out. The speed pick especially, and they might actually gonna be banning on that pick. Looking like how Italian Plumbers destroying this map, well, especially A40.
Yeah. It's definitely something worth considering. I think that speed map has been giving players a lot of issues when it comes to getting the timing down overall. There's some pretty implied patterning, if I were to put it so kindly, as to when you're supposed to be hitting when some of those streams occur. But that being said, they do definitely have options outside of that if it does get banned out. So with that being said, the warm-up is officially done. We'll be getting the match itself on the road here, and we'll see what these teams have prepared for this match.
That's a real warm-up from A40, and definitely a good warm-up to your fingers. The rest of the players outside of court will just sit in the lobby for 2 minutes because you cannot download the map. Unlucky buddy, but they're gonna be doing the rolls right now. And again, I do believe Malaysia will be banning out the either Rice pool or Speed pool, and Italian Plumbers will be mostly focusing on LN hybrids or SV bans. So two sides of very clear picks and bans from both teams. And if every team, due to that, both teams actually have some really confident picks on their back, and we might actually see a tiebreaker.
Potentially, we're seeing a lot of 5-0s going to the higher seeded teams, so this could be the turning point in the weekend. Right now, very rolling the 67 for Italy, just waiting on Malaysia to throw their roll out, probably determining who wants to do it, because that is a very dubious honor sometimes, especially if you are notoriously bad at rolling.
But CJP Gaming is not going to be better than rolling. Rolling on 87 going to be reading out the roll for Malaysia-A, so they will be picking first, and Italian Plumbers will be banning first. And again, I believe it's going to be a choice from the LM pool or the hybrid pool. Fragments Arc a lot of, even though despite being a hybrid, definitely quite a focus on LN as well. And then there's also 2 more LN maps, and I think Turbo is a little bit more harder to read one, so Italian Plumbers may put a ban on that. They're gonna be banned on speed instead.
Speed, okay. Yeah, like I was mentioning, I mean that speed pick has been really causing some issues for a lot of the player base for a variety of reasons, and I think that's just more of a we don't like it, so we don't want to have to play through it type of ban versus we can't play it, because they can probably play it, but they just don't want to do it in a tournament setting, even more so than doing something like Turbo or Treat in that LN pool. Even something like Wrinkle or, like you mentioned, Fragments.arc being left up here for Italy, so that's going to be interesting to see as we get further on down the line. Malaysia now up to pick. They do have some players that can practice the SV, but as I say that, it is a 2v2 setting, so getting that second person to practice the SV, especially on a 50-second coin flip, a little bit too much to ask for. So Speed and SV going to be removed from the pool. Every other normal pick remaining.
Oh my god.
And Leon's saying no time to practice. Okay, that's fair, honestly. Everybody do be busy this time of year. We're getting closer to summer and in some countries winter. So a lot of breaks gonna be happening soon.
Yeah, it's exams weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it is definitely crunch time for a lot of players. So with that being said, we're just waiting on that first pick to come through. It is going to be Malaysia up to bat first. Would not be surprised if they went for one of these untouched LN or hybrids to start things off. If I were to place a bet here, I imagine something like Wrinkle, but no, it's going to be Metheus. So, I mean, okay, I'm just going to throw out every expectation I've had of this match so far, because I've clearly have the wrong read on both of these teams. I thought Malaysia would be going for these LN hybrid picks, and Italy would be going for the Rice picks. But no, it's going to be Malaysia going for Rice 2 here, so they know something that we don't. Maybe they want to test the accuracy, the consistency of Italy here to start things off. Especially in a best-of-9 format, you do have the luxury of having that like one extra pick to kind of get settled in here.
That is so surprising. Not even just you. I was like, wow, okay, this is a real change of pace from the Malaysia team. Honestly, looking at the qualifiers performance, the Italian Plumber teams are really close on both right picks, and it even beats out on the harder Riffram one, which is a 2L map, but Metheus is definitely not a 2L song. This is just a flat out accuracy pick, OD6, very standard of 195 BPM map, having a little bit of like triplets, sometimes a little bit of a burst, but it's just flat out accuracy. There's not even many different beats, it's just flat out consistency, and consistency is the game here, and that's probably why Malaysia decided to just go for this pick, because we do have 2 very high accuracy players. But same can be said about the Italian Plumbers. We have 840 and Ikud, the 2 Taiko players, of course, on the Rice picks. They have been just using the Taiko players only on the Rice picks.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup between these 2 countries. Some maybe overlap in skill sets, maybe some confidence in the other team's domain. I think this will set the record straight for both of these teams very quickly as to exactly what they're up against when it comes to the match dynamics overall. Would not be surprised if we saw some 180 turns down to that bottom side of the map pool, but right now just waiting on the players to ready up. It looks like it's going to be Core 31 HP and Mini Sora for Malaysia going against A40 and Ikun, like you mentioned, to kick things off here. So
We're gonna be Cord is a very high accuracy player. Ikun is asking someone please call Ender. one of their players is sleeping.
Oh no. Asleep on the job. They need to know. Isn't it like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. in Italy right now? But I digress. It is Sunday, so do want to get some sleepy time in, but looks like the players are ready. We're going to get into this first map.
Iku is going insane over where is Ender. Yeah, Ender is extremely high accuracy player in Taiko. Very confident in his speed and just high OD judgment. And I think that helps a lot in 1K Mania. But he's not here, and I do believe Ikun is here to force to play this map.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they perform. A little shaky picking up a 200 on the introduction, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is these bursts right after. Core 31 HP finding his first drop through the introduction, but due to the fact that they did have some pretty high accuracy, Minnesota holding on to that 100%, but Core 31 HP finding the second drop here. As we make our way through this introduction, it is 11,000 points in favor of Italy as Ikun tries to build up their accuracy to try and compete against the likes of Minnesota, but A40 keeping them in check, but Ikun starts to find the drops on the streams here, and the lead swings back in favor of Malaysia to the tune of about 30,000 points and climbing.
I can see Ikun is screaming, where is Ender in some of these longer streams? His accuracy dropping down to 96%, missing a lot in those patterns. It was looking like really good for Italian Plumbers as Court found some inconsistency right outside of the map. But now, as Ikun's starting to struggle in terms of the stamina, it's giving Malaysia quite a bit of a head start. Actually, not even a head start in the middle of the map. I do believe that's a client drop from Court. He did not miss on that session. But maybe the reason why Italian Plumbers were banning out the speed map is showing right here because Ender is sleeping.
Potentially. That could throw a spanner in the works, but as it stands, you got to work with the players that you got. They do have a full complement of players, so definitely could have a reserve. Ikun being the reserve thrown into the fire here. And doing a pretty good job despite the couple of misses that they did pick up. Back up to the 97% range, needing to pick up the pace a little bit, but with only a quarter of the map left to go, there's really not much they can do. Just hold on to the combo, get back with that 400 combo gap, but unable to at the end of the day. And I think Malaysia had the right read here, Ender or not, able to convincingly get through this first map with some pretty high accuracy overall. And through all of that, we just kind of left A40 on an island unmentioned through all of this. Near 100% accuracy on their end. 6 300s to their name.
Last match we have a 12 perfect, but now we have a 6 perfect play from A40.
Oh,
this guy.
That is disgusting.
I think they will win. I actually think this is a bad pick from Malaysia. I think Italian Plumbers would win this pick.
That is insane. But I mean, listen, you're dealt. You got to play the hand that you're dealt. And with Ikun, it's not that they couldn't read their way through it. It's the hardware limitation. You don't have the luxury of being able to alternate between two separate keys as if though you were just playing a full red stream. So making that adjustment on the fly for some of those longer streams is such a hurdle to get through, especially if you don't have a comfortable key to use. And spacebar, for some, very nice. Others, the bane of their existence.
I mean, there's no better way, because if you're just a Taiko player, if you want to play alternating, just go with the spacebar.
Yeah,
but
that's the default. Yes. It's honestly, the amount of purchase that you get on it, it's no wonder that so many players use the spacebar, but as it stands, I mean, can Ender wake up in time for Italy? That's I think the question that they're asking themselves as we wait for Italy to make their first pick. Maybe now taking some time to think about this, trying to get their teammate to wake up. They do have a timeout in the back pocket if they do need it, but definitely don't want to delay proceedings here any longer than absolutely necessary. That's gonna be race 1.
That's I do believe Italy just gonna keep on the Rice pool. I'm still standing by it. I think that's a horrible pick from Malaysia. They just kind of, I seriously don't think they know that Italy is missing Ender, and then it was just luck moment that the other team was missing Ender, and then due to that they took the point. But if Ender was here, I do believe Italian Plumbers would just have taken that point. Ender's just a crazy speed accuracy player. It's basically A40 number 2. Damn. Unfortunate situation.
Yeah, like I said, you play the hand that you are dealt, and I mean, honestly, I don't think Italy was expecting a Rice 2 first to start this match off. I'm pretty sure they were probably content knowing that it was going to be a LN versus Rice kind of match. So it did cut some of the options there, put them in a bit of a pickle. But Malaysia, I mean, whether they intended it or not, got a very nice opening point and pinched that Rice pool just that little bit more. And now we're going into Rice 1. We see Very checking in comparison to Ikun from earlier. And this should be a little bit more standard, not as fast as Matthias, but there are some pretty challenging parts in the middle. We get this really elongated triplet stream that transitions into 1/4 and starts alternating back and forth after some long measures. And the transitions between the two of those on OD9, you can start spiking a lot of bad judgments because you don't get a break through them. If you mistime any of those transitions, expect to see a massive accuracy drop as we get through this map. But for now, let's see how they do.
This map is a lot less consistent than last week. We already see some offbeats in this map, rather just flat out 1 note, 3 note, 1 note, 3 notes. And that has been giving quite a bit of accuracy dips from Leon. That burst over there makes him drops down to 98%. And once again, Italy is just showing up so strong in these Rice picks. And in the lead so far, looking quite good for their own pick. 99.94 from Fury. A40 with 99.91 Minnesota, basically the same score, but Leon dipping down a bit of accuracy at the south of the map. It's basically the only difference for this so far.
I think the name of the game here for Malaysia is just hang on to the combo, because in 1K, combo gaming can actually get you through to the end. You might not have the best accuracy in comparison to the rest of the lobby, but getting up over that 400 combo cap and staying up there on some of the maps can be crucial to securing your team the point. And as we get through this triplet stream, we're going to see this turn into 1/4, and that transition is going to be the breaking point for a lot of these players. But right now, expertly handled by the entire lobby. As we continue on, still Italy in the lead by about 7,000 points. Each transition not catching any of the players out. We see rushes of 300s, but everybody hangs on with that full combo. Who is going to blink first going into the last quarter of this map? There's still some tricky doublets into triplet patterns through the rest of this map.
That session was so hard, it actually blew my mind as a Taiko player reading that pattern, but Everett just handled that spectacularly. Due to that, Malaysia, with the early hiccups from Leon and the continuous lower accuracy than most of an entire map, it's gonna let Italy took their first point. And the score we won double S from Fury and Minnesota, and A40 and Fury actually has the exact same ratio counts on Perfect and Rainbow 300.
Yeah, they literally tied. They literally tied outside of one judgment. If there was ever a time for maximum consistency, that is it. That is insane from both of them. Minnesota, hats off to them. 64 V1 double S. Trying to rein them in, but unfortunately not enough. Not the widest of margins for a Rice pick as I was thinking, but still just accuracy at the end of the day rules supreme. And now with Malaysia up to pick, maybe gonna rethink their approach to some of these Rice picks and maybe test Italy on some of these LN hybrids.
I mean, they gonna be waking up, right? After seeing what happened to Rise 2 and Rise 1. Rise 2, oh, they have a dude who has 6 perfect on that map. And then Rise 1, okay, they're so consistent. Maybe it's the best idea to just not touch that pool at all. And go for LN and Hybrid instead. And honestly, I think there's definitely good enough picks for Malaysia. LN1, LN2, and Hybrid 3. All of them are very good picks. I mean, to see Malaysia just go for Treat. Definitely rethink their decisions on what pool they should go for, and this is a lot better pick from them. We do see A40 Internet said, goodbye, I hate playing LN. I don't give. Get me away from here.
That is very fair. It's definitely a bit of an annoying skill set to learn because of those release elements. But honestly, Treat not the hardest of LN technical kinds of picks. There are definitely harder in this pool, and I look at the hybrids because of the fact that you do have to blend those elements together. It varies some of those releases, but for Treat, the real issue is when you do get into those 1-4 streams, the LNs get a little hard to read. Some of them get a little longer than others, and that can definitely throw you off if you're not too careful. If you have the wrong kind of LN skin, it becomes a little tricky to read through. But hopefully I don't catch anybody off guard. We see Funeral check in for Malaysia. It can come back in for Italy. Probably their designated LN player of the Taiko players that are on this roster to back up very...
At least I do believe this is a skill set that he's more favored on rather than just speed consistency. But again, I do believe that shows a little bit of a more limited roster from Italian Plumbers, that they do have one clean skill sets. So we do see Ikun already dropping a 200 right at the start. So far, not much to talk about, but the 200 from Ikun is basically the only reason why Malaysia is on the lead. With Leon having the best accuracy so far and Funeral closely following behind him. Gonna get into some of these cut stream really soon.
Yeah, Funeral finding a 200 on one of those releases as well. Drops down their accuracy just a little bit. So now we have this top half versus bottom half battle. Funeral finding another couple of 200s on the transition out of that introduction. Now we get into the real chorus. And honestly, you can play this kind of like a 1-4 stream at the expense of some of your accuracy. But we're not seeing a lot of 300s coming out, so everybody is acting their way through this. It is still 2,000 points in favor of Italy at the moment. Can swing in an instant if you're not too careful, but as it stands, everybody holding firm. No real substantial drops to speak of. Little chunks of damage here and there, a 10th here, a 10th there, and we're starting to play tug of war with this leaderboard as we make our way to this outro. Can everybody handle the sneaky doublet? Everybody does. 4 FCs left on the board. Who has a higher accuracy? It looks like Malaysia has snuck it out at the end. Gotta watch these final releases. Any 200s at this point could be devastating to the run overall. It is such a tight margin.
He drops 200 on the last session. The slowdown is just that hard. Oh my god. It was looking like Italy had a chance to take that, but it couldn't just have a little bit of slight inconsistency at the ending. And Leon and Ferry both with the score on double S. Funeral barely beating out Ikun on his side, and so does Leon beating out Ferry, and that's the entire difference. 2-1 in favor of Malaysia. What a close map, actually. If any inconsistency being found from the Malaysian team, Italy could have taken that.
Yeah, that was teetering on a knife's edge at one point. Definitely room for pause, but at the very least, no breakpoints given either way just yet. And Italy now up to pick once again. They do have 2 more rice picks to decide between Atropos and guitar versus piano. I imagine they want to exhaust the shorter pick first, just to keep that consistency pick at the very end. But honestly, they're probably going to go for both of them either way. So, order of which isn't really all that important at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do believe they just won't touch other two picks. They're actually gonna go for the longer one.
Yeah.
Guitar versus piano.
This is our longest pick in this pool by a considerable margin.
Yeah, 4 minutes. It's gonna be a long battle. So far, we have been only seeing short sprints. This one's gonna be a marathon. Consistency is the key. It's the name of the game here.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of 1-2 sections that very easy to autopilot your way through. I've found myself overhitting some of those streams just because of not paying attention. But once we get into that like 3/4 of the way, there is this really extended 3-note gallop section that goes into pure 1/4 streams that if you're not prepared for it can definitely catch you off guard. And similar to other rice picks in this pool, if you spike at any point of those streams, you just kiss that entire section goodbye. And right now we are just waiting on the players to get into the lobby. Probably going to be a full lobby swap, all the LN players, or at least the LN enjoying players, leaving for their more rice-oriented rosters. So
yeah, I do believe Minnesota and Court is gonna be back for Malaysia, and Italy and Plumbers most likely gonna be 840, as he is clearly a player who really enjoys playing Rise only and want to stay away from LN as much as possible. Second player is probably gonna be Fairy again, unless they somehow awake Ender, and he is awake. They managed to call him. He is
There we
here.
go.
It's Ender.
Ender shaking off the cobwebs of sleep, probably literally straight from bed to their keyboard. It'll be very interesting. The good thing about this pick though, it has a really long wind-up time. You can kind of get into a groove through that introduction and get yourself ready for the back half. So if there was ever a pick to come in on cold, this is probably the pick that you'd want to get in on for your first map.
Might be the pick. Court is saying that they are sight reading.
Oh boy.
That's a very Court moment. I do believe Court has done similar things in World Cup as well. In Taiko World Cup scene.
Yeah. I mean, the one benefit, you can't mind block a map if you don't know the map, so you can definitely see that playing into their hands, but it's still a risky strategy as we wait for all the clients to load in.
I mean, there's a reason
go.
why Malaysia, despite being, I would say definitely the more well-rounded team, banning out SV. And I think that's the reason why, because most of their players were possibly sight reading.
Yeah, just no real time to prepare, but I mean, it is what it is. Like I say, you play the hand that you're dealt, and if you didn't have time to do things, then no point stressing out about it. As we get through this introduction, everybody starting to level out in terms of their accuracy. Their first real stream coming through, everybody handling it very nicely. No real 200s to speak of as we begin to dive in. A lot of 1-2s, the occasional 1/4 burst here and there, but everybody above that 99.9% mark at the moment. Hundreds of points separating the players, as I believe they're all holding on to a V1SS as it stands.
This is just... It just feels like playing a convent in Taiko.
Honestly?
Just 1-2. So similar.
Yeah, it definitely is very unassuming for large portions of it. This is literally just a consistency test, and can you handle the 1-4 streams in between? Because we've seen players miss on those transitions. Either they're not ready or they get so used to the 1-2 motion that speeding the hands up catches them off guard. But as it stands, I mean, it is 0.1% separating both of these teams in terms of overall accuracy. It is 1,500 points in favor of Italy at the moment going into the second third of the chart.
And I would say Anders able to wake up the match definitely helped so much for Italy. Look at his accuracy right now. Only a little slightly bit lower than A40, so we know that his ratio is also really high, and both of those Italian brothers are beating out both Malaysian players, as the Italian Plumbers actually made a joke of calling their custom maps in Tiger World Cup Mario and Luigi, and I guess they are doing the job right here. Bit of burst right now, no one finds a breakthrough, and A40 actually managed to bring his accuracy up to 99.99. This is just flat out insane from this player.
Yeah, I imagine low double-digit 300 counts, maybe even single-digit from both of these players at the moment. Cord and Minisora going into the gallops now, trying to maintain striking distance, doing a really good job of it. 99.9s for them as well. It's not like they're lagging too far behind. This is literally a handful of 300s one way or the other separating both of these teams. If anybody drops a 200, we're gonna see a massive swing. If we see a miss, it is game over for either of these countries. As we make our way into the final quarter, everybody makes it through that gallop section unscathed. There are really no other major pain points in this chart. You just got to remember where those streams are and making sure you're ending the streams on the right hand. Overstreaming definitely a thing, but everybody seems up to the task at the moment as we make our way through this ending here.
Seems like it's just an insane performance of Italian Plumbers, and I think they're gonna take the second point. The map is winding down, and I don't think anyone will drop a miss right here. We do see A40 got trolled by the slowdown and drop a little bit of perfect instead of marvelous. Unlucky, buddy. This is just a slowdown moment and caught being the same. Dropping a little bit in terms of accuracy, in terms of ratio, but that's an insane performance from the Italian Plumbers, and they're waking up actually top scoring the lobby. No need warm up. I am just
warm up. It's the best way to do it. Just right out of bed, right to MVP. That is ridiculous. 22 and 18 for a team score. 999s for both of them. And with Malaysia up to pick, they're going to go for LN2 here. Makes a ton of sense. But with that being said, the hardest portion of this map is literally the first burst.
Yeah. It was very upsetting. One of the German players was actually doing really well in the entire map, and then the first burst they dropped like 3 misses, and then he's forever not 3, I think like 3 200s and 1 miss, and then he was like forever lower score than the Chinese map players, despite his ratio is better.
Yeah,
it was very unlucky.
That 9-lit at the beginning, it is so easy to just either lose track of the rhythm, or those 2 LNs right before it. If you let go of that second LN, or if you overhold it, it does not matter what you do during that stream, it will tank your accuracy. There's so, like, I always talk about pain points in maps. That's the only one. Everything else is so easy to read through. It's just a matter of if they can keep that intro clean. Can they start the car off correctly?
We do see 3 players on Malaysia team. Not too sure who's gonna be playing this one. And I do believe Funero actually leaves the lobby, so it's gonna be Minnesota And Leon this time. A little bit of a swaps from the Malaysian LN team. Yes, they seem to be striking with on the LN pick. I do believe this is definitely a lot better pick than their first pick. But it's gonna be a close one, like Sparky said. The first burst, all eyes on it.
Oh, everybody nails it. Picking up a tiny bit of damage, it could as well, but very importantly, no misses through that introduction. Everything else is just going to be a recovery run now for both of them. Best start they could have asked for, but Minisaur and Leon able to act their way through that introduction. Probably gonna start taking damage just residually through this map. The LNs definitely lend themselves to picking up 300s here and there, but as it stands, it is 10,000 points in favor of Malaysia going into the second quarter. The build up into the drop here.
This is a lot more of a sprint. It's only 1 minute and 45 seconds with a skip, by the way. So this map is very short, and the score difference was actually a lot smaller than the last map, despite last map is 4,000, but due to the length distance, this length of the map, 10,000 on this point is actually not too big, but Ikun does drop quite a bit of a number of 200s on the last session over there, so now Malaysia is gonna take a pretty solid safe lead for now.
Yeah, going into the last quarter, unless somebody from Malaysia finds a miss, this is a pretty comfortable margin for them to work with going into this outro. You're basically following the vocals for the LN, so not a lot of tripping up points to be found here. And as you make your way through this ending, Malaysia doing just enough to squeak out both of the LN picks. It is 3-2 now in their favor. No breakpoints yet to speak of. A 990k performance across the board, minus Ikun, but still able to hold on to the FC in their own right. Very well done by all the players here.
And I don't think you need a brainer to pick the last pick. Actually, it's a hybrid Rise focused map. I think the Italian team could also pick it. So it's either that or no more free. Everything else, I do believe it's quite Malaysia flavor. But the Malaysia flavor maps is basically only Rise free. However, the weird Rhythm is actually quite benefit Italy, and they're gonna pick it instead of Malaysia. Okay.
Well, I mean, Italy's been showing that they are so much better in terms of accuracy. Yeah, it's Rise free.
Yeah. I am blind. I thought they picked hybrid. I am stupid.
Hey, it's been a long match. This is the longest match we've had so far. Everything else has been a pretty convincing 5-0. This is the tightest contested match we have had so far this round. And you'd imagine advantage Italy for this one, but with the short length, there is a couple of tricky patterns to read through as well. Probably stuff that they are more than accustomed to reading in their own game mode, but you never know. There's always a chance for that miss to come out, and that just throws everything into question as we wait to see who is going to come in to back up A40. Probably going to be Ender now that they're awake.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Ender. There we go.
Yeah.
I do believe Malaysia is going to be sticking to these two, as I do believe these two are the two that has practiced a map pool, and they will rather rely on these two players. Seems like a pretty fair strategy for the Malaysian teams. Let's see, can they breakpoint on the Rise free or the Italian Plumbers able to took actual pass. But yes, if Ender is here, Matthias would be a horrible start for Malaysia.
Yeah.
If only.
If only. This would be a completely different story. It would have been an Italian breakpoint to start things off. They would have had basically 4 points. They would have had tiebreaker locked up based on their performances on these other 3 Rice picks. But again, Malaysia picking Rice 2 at the one opportunity that they had to, whether they intended it or not, that was the biggest brain play And right now, Funeral and Leon checking in here. Funeral going to run Mirror for the 1K map.
Seems like they're deciding that Ross is Funeral is actually gonna be swapping in instead of
Minisora. Minisora is usually placed on
yes,
the right
Minisora.
six.
Yeah, Minisora. So interesting choice.
Yeah, I think this one with it's a little bit more technically demanding. Some of the streams are even-handed instead of odd-handed, so you're ending on an alternate hand. So maybe some of those transitions catching them out a little bit, maybe just a little bit less comfortable. Can speculate about it until the map's over, but as it stands, we gotta get through it first.
Yeah, usually it's Cord and Minisora for these self picks, and we already see a not so good start for Funeral as drops 3 to 4 200s right out the gate, giving Italy a very good 10,000 points difference, as once again these two monstrous Rise players are dominating the chart again.
Yeah, I think these LN transitions might have been a little bit too much to handle, but as it stands, Ender finding the first break, but the accuracy of A40 in comparison to Funeral really keeping them above water. It was but a tiny dent in that score. Was about 50,000, about to climb back up to it, give or take a couple thousand points, as Ender finds a break on the slider. Still half the map to go, but again, it is about 3% the difference between A40 and Funeral, so them being kept in check here will keep the lead in their favor, but it is dropping. The fact that Funeral and Leon are above that 400 combo cap is actually starting to put a tiny dent in that Italian lead. Cannot afford to find any more misses. If you are Italy, some of these LNs being a little bit too much for them to read through, but as we make our way into the last quarter, looks like no harm, no foul at the end of the day. But as I say that, Ender finding a pretty massive drop. It's a whole 2% for Ender, and another miss as well. The lead swings back into Malaysia's favor at the 11th hour. Is there enough time for them to hang on here? A40 doing everything in their power to try and keep this in place, but Ender finding yet another drop here at the ending. And despite the 96% accuracy for Funeral, they are able to hold on to the FC. And a combo game performance gets Malaysia the first breakpoint in this match and makes it 4-2.
That's unfortunate.
That's extremely unfortunate. But
that's an off performance, I would say.
It is what it is. I mean, they had it in their hands. It's just those LNs at the end of some of those streams. It's like I've been saying throughout this match, if you spike any of those releases, you just forfeit the rest of that stream. And we saw it happen there. Malaysia now on match point. Only have hybrids to choose from.
They still have hybrid 3.
They're gonna go hybrid 1. It's gonna be Rushmore.
Okay. Interesting choice. But even if Malaysia loses this one, it'll need to choose one of the hybrid instead. And we do see A40 is not confident at that.
Yeah, they were kind of banking on the Rice picks going their way to at least secure them the tiebreaker. But honestly, nothing's guaranteed in this match. This is a very Rice-heavy hybrid in terms of where the difficulty spikes are. There are a lot of 1/6 bursts that can catch you out if you're not too careful, but the thing is, it's the LN transitions in between some of these sections that can definitely catch you out. Some of the releases are a little bit longer than you might be anticipating. So for a team, yeah, go ahead.
Still though, I was gonna say, I thought hybrid 3 would be the choice here, rather than just pick. This map still has, like you mentioned, a bit more Rise heavy on some of the denser session, and most of these Rise heavy maps are definitely benefit, like Italy Plumbers. They do have the transition to worry about, but Malaysia has the Rise to worry about. So I think this is more of a 50-50 map. I'm kind of surprised Malaysia go for this rather than any other Rise hybrid map in the.
I see 3 Malaysian players in the lobby at the moment. I think they're just deciding who that second person is going to be.
Funeral, Port is playing for Italy. He betrayed teams.
Yeah, defected over to Italy. Yeah, it looks like Cordy does depart. But who's going to back up A40? It's going to be very, I think, A40 the most comfortable with those 1-6 transitions. But how are they going to handle the LNs? They were able to handle the LNs in Rice 3. And it's kind of more of the same. If you can handle those, you can probably handle the ones here in Rushmore. So I wouldn't say this is a safe point for Malaysia. I would have much rather them go into something like Wrinkle, where the technical patterning can throw you off, especially with some of those LNs. But they've been flipping the coin, and it's been coming up heads each time. Can they go 3 for 3 on some of these riskier picks?
Yeah, I think this is just an awkward pick, honestly. I agree with you I agree with you. This is just an awkward pick. I think this is not the best. Is the good way to call it. The worst picked out of the 3. I think that's the bad way of call it. So we'll see how Malaysia deal with this pick. Last map we have Funeral dropping a lot of accuracy, and that burst is giving Leon a miss already. So yes, the question of pick is already showing in the first 25% of the map.
Oh, but Very tries to miss back. So now it's the battle between Funeral and A40. Very finding the inner drop on the transition into the build-up here and picking up a lot of 200s on those releases as well. Not having the best of time during that section. Now down into that 98% range. So yes, Leon missed on one of the first 1-6 bursts of the chart, but able to recover very nicely in terms of their accuracy. And now Malaysia have a 30,000 point lead to work with, but there's still half the map to go. There is a very brutal breakdown section where the 1-6 really come in with perpetuity, and that's probably going to be Italy's best chance to strike back if they did have an opportunity. Here it comes.
Is that Furry's one dropping accuracy? I do believe Furry is also not handling some of those first 2 well compared to some of the other Italian players, but because he can deal with the long transition, so they decided to go for him. And Leon finds a break on the burst again. Italy is closing in. Second break from Leon. It's winding down, but there's a chance for Italy and Plumbers. Funeral is keeping his team.
7,000, 6,000. Oh, but it's not enough time. 3,900 points, the cushion for Malaysia to close this match out by a score of 5-2 to continue their winners bracket run into the quarterfinals. What a match. This is definitely one of the closer ones of the weekend so far.
I mean, like I said, I think that was just a kind of awkward pick from Malaysia. But thankfully, it worked out at the ending. Some of those weird transitions definitely catching out some of the Italian Plumbers members. We do see Leon's accuracy on that was actually fantastic. It just he dropped 3 misses and 150, and that almost made Italian Plumbers took the breakpoint. But either way, they need to take one of the weirder hybrid picks to have done it anyway. So yeah.
Alrighty, and Malaysia booking their ticket against Australia next weekend. Gonna be very interesting to see that match as we begin to see the bracket rounding out quite nicely. There's only 2 matches left, and it is going to be the United Kingdom against Czechoslovakia and the United States B team versus France. Both happening at 17 UTC, so I think we're going to show the UK's Czechoslovakia match on account of that one not being rescheduled. But either way, one of those two matches will be on the stream. So take a bit of a break, maybe have some dinner, have some lunch, or have some breakfast. I don't know what time of day you're in. And we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good day, everyone.